This is generation skipping transfer tax. We're in the live review again. And this is a category that varies so dramatically on the exam. There could be maybe one question and then on the next exam, 5. You just don't know. So where do the questions come from? Well, one of the typical questions is the skip person question. That's very straightforward. Again, a beneficiary-related person who's at least 2 generations younger than the transfer is a skip person. So let's go to the example again. Joan at age 60 has a married daughter with a son age 2. If the daughter's husband dies, the grandson is still a skip person. But if the daughter dies, then the grandson is no longer a skip person and moves up. And there's no GST. It's based on bloodline. So, and the other rule, of course, is the straightforward 37.5-year rule, and it doesn't apply to a related party. So that could be, again, Joan has a brother, her brother has a son. Is the son a skip person? No. Her brother's grandson is the skip person. The other high possibility question has to do with the 3 different types of transfers. This is a high probability. Being able to identify whether it is a direct skip, that's pretty easy. But the termination and the distribution can get confusing. In the termination, the trust, again, is set up for, we'll make it Joan's daughter for life. Then when Joan's daughter dies, then her granddaughter, I'm just making a granddaughter, would be inherit the trust, and that would be subject to the GST. But here's the big difference. Technically, it's a gift of a future interest. So the $14,000 doesn't apply. Oh, that's the big difference. So you get the GST exemption, but you don't get the $14,000. And you don't get the $14,000 for either the GST or the gift. And boy, that's a nasty question on the exam. They'll ask you whether under a taxable termination or indirect skip, that's what I call it also, whether you get the $14,000 or not. You do not get the $14,000. Why? Going up to the middle of the page, it says, similar to the gift tax, the $14,000 annual exclusion per donee is available under the GST for lifetime directs only. Lifetime directs only. And under a termination, it is not a lifetime direct. Okay, it is not. It's a death skip. So it's not the $14,000. So this $14,000 can be a killer on the exam. Now, the distribution is not a direct skip. It is not. It is a distribution. And again, just like in the termination, the 14,000 does not count in either the GST calculation, and it does not count in the gift calculation. Why do I say it doesn't count in the GST and the gift calculation? Because as you go to the next page, you see a calculation in number 3, and you see that two things are occurring with the GST all the time. When there's a GST, there's always an estate tax, and when there's a GST, there's always a gift tax. And it depends on whether the person dies, that's the estate, or whether the person's alive, that's a gift. But the issue here is Uncle Sam says, I'm not going to double tax you. Now, the calculation on number 3, they're not going to test it, but the concept is there. In this one, Mrs. Thomas gifts the money, and she's already used her exemption. When she gifts the money and she's already used her exemption, she has to pay a gift tax. That's first. Because she pays a gift tax on the money, that offsets the amount that she has to pay on the GST tax. So the two are working in tandem together. You've got to understand that once you're triggering a GST, you're also triggering a gift tax if you're alive. And if there's a GST and you die, then there's also an estate tax. There has to be, because it's got to be more than the exemption. Has to be more than the exemption. There's no way around them testing it any other way. So, whether the 14 is in or not is important. Now, in number 3, it is a direct skip. So the 14,000 figures into the question. When you look at number 3, that is a direct skip. It's I'm sorry, not Mrs. Thompson, it's Mr. Thompson. It says that he gifts another $5 million, blah, 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 to another granddaughter, a skip person. Then we subtract the 14,000 because that's a direct skip. So that's when you subtract the 14,000, but in the termination and the distribution, you do not subtract the 14,000. Do not subtract it. That's the difference. It's not a direct skip. So this can get critical because I don't think they'll ask you the calculation number 3, but they may ask you whether the 14,000 applies or not. Direct, it applies. Termination, distribution, it does not apply. Keep it simple, you'll be much better off. Very, very technical area. Bye now.